My name's Red. I'm the service manager for youth work at Streetwise Young People's Project. So one of the projects that I do manage is Michael and Shoppy's project, which is the young men's work. Streetwise is well known for, it has two strands. So I manage the youth work side, and there's also like a counsel and wellbeing side, like mental health side. And within the mental health team and also within my team, we do engage on my side a bit more with what you would call BIM. I know it's not a word to use at the moment, or an acronym to use at the moment, but I'm going to use it for the purpose of this until we get a better one.
Yes, so I'm a project worker at Streetwise, and my work is all to do with BIM young men. So that's Black, Asian, minority, ethnic young men. And I run a group called Level Up with another young man called Shafi, and we offer support one-to-one around mental health.
I'm 31 now. I've got a son, Thierry, who's 9. Some years back, well, not some years, a couple of years back now, when I was working really heavily with young fathers, I was working with Young Dads Collective in London, based within the family and childcare trust, on a project that focused on supporting dads and their needs in terms of engagement with services. And what I did there was pretty much help the young dads get their voice really heard and share their experiences with services, and with the aim of improving services to make it more father-friendly.
I was working alongside our midwives and health visitors and teenage pregnancy advisors to engage young fathers, up to the age of 25, into support. Early years support particularly. Inclusive support, first and foremost, means that dads are brought from being invisible to being made visible, because often, and historically in, supporting our young mums, the dads have not been seen. And we now know to be inclusive, to give best opportunities to young families and to babies and children, is to include both parties, yeah.
So that's why I think the inclusivity is about making sure that you can see other people like yourself. You're more likely to engage. It doesn't have to be tokenistic as well, because I think there's nothing worse than just having someone there for the sake of having someone there. It's about making sure that someone's there who can help and can empower. Do you know anyone who's a policeman? Do you know anyone who's a teacher, a doctor? In the vast majority of the young men we work with, it's no. So it's empower them to go, well, just because you don't see that person, that doesn't mean you can't be that person.
And we don't have enough people from within other communities, so diverse communities, who actually become youth workers or support workers. It's not always about being a victim. So I think sometimes you can, some of the sort of messages that get put out there is Black people are always complaining about racism. Black people are always talking about being a victim or being bullied or being called names, but actually Black people can be doctors, but Black people can be youth workers. Black people can do other things as well,
So if you can look at dad more as a resource, less of as a threat, especially, and I say a threat in particular because when you have young people who have children young, you tend to assume these people don't know what they're doing. It's all new to them. They need to be, the child needs to be protected from them as much as possible. And if you're the dad, it doesn't really help, because you got that stereotype of being the young dad, and that tends to be quite negative.
I think if you're running a dad's group, as an example, depends where you go fishing to catch these young dads. There's more than one pond, river or stream, and sometimes you have to go out of your way to go to different places. There wasn't really that support for those guys, especially when they're young dads and there's the negotiating, can they see their child, because they're not necessarily always in a relationship with the person they have a child with.
Ever see any men's groups? You never see any of those things, and I think culturally that's the thing that needs to change. And I would imagine in more diverse communities where some of the stigmas about being a dad and role models and what men should do would be even more difficult to break down.
Go to the places that you wouldn't normally go to and speak to some of the community leaders and let them know that there's these things in place. I think that's really, really important, and that doesn't always happen.
Sometimes you can offer the same service to a wide range of people, but sometimes you can't, and you need to understand what that change needs to look like. Sometimes I speak to dads in other parts of England, for example, Grimsby, Leeds, and just geographically, those dads have a different setup than the dads in London. And I can't really explain it until you engage with them and you understand, oh my God, your geographic design is the town and cities you are in makes engaging with you guys a lot more unique than what it does for London.
Because we were a Newcastle-wide service and because a lot of our funding was from the local authority, having diversity was part of our sort of like a reach, you know, making sure it was representative of the general population or the demographics of that age group. Hard to reach communities sometimes exist, so we just go out of our way, be assertive in reaching hard to reach communities. So that might be young fathers who don't feel they need the service or they've got other issues. Make sure that we were responsive and you know, sensitive to different cultural needs and work in a way that was bespoke to what that might need as well.
It's a lot of hard work. It is a lot of hard work. But you've also got to remember, when you go into churches and mosques, like Michael alluded to there as well, which I've also done, you've got gatekeepers. And in the past, when I was doing the work and I wanted to get in there, it's been my dad who's been my passport in, who said, oh, this is my son, this is the work he's done, give him 5 minutes. And it hasn't always worked, because some of those communities have still shut the doors on me. But a lot of the time, because I've had respect for him, he's given me the passport to get into that organisation or that community group.
What we didn't find is that it was a coherent group. So if you had, say, someone from, say, mixed cultural background, say Afro-British background, they may not have aligned themselves to that kind of classification. They just saw themselves as a young father. Equally, we work with people from Eastern Europe, might have like a Roma background. So Roma communities, whilst they might have some common cultural stuff, they don't see themselves as just like one monolith block. So we thought individualized approach, just seeing the person who they are, but whilst recognizing there might be barriers, but working with that like we would work with anyone who might have barriers, whether that's class, religion, you know, wherever they came from. So it's just like being sensitive. If there's a barrier that you might have, whether that's to do with language or nuances, it's just trying to work through them and seek and get resources if you need them, but don't see them as a barrier that can't be overcome. There's always ways of working through it.